progress.
We lost just a little bit of the audio as you were explaining it, so I want to make sure that those watching and clicking onto us now understand it. But basically, the police in the state of Missouri were stopping people who they thought supported Ron Paul, were pro-life, were Second Amendment. They weren't arresting them, but they were stopping them and taking down their names and addresses and asking them where they're coming from and where they're going to. And as a result of your exposure of this, the process has stopped and the person in charge of it has lost his job.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. We weren't being stopped, but we were definitely being profiled, and law enforcement was being trained to be extra cautious of people. And the worst part of that is that people thought that they might be, linked to some neo-Nazi or violent group. They're basically being intimidated into getting involved in our political process, whether it's a political party or the Tea Parties or the Campaign for Liberty, and it's got a real stifling effect. But yes, because of our activism, because of our hitting this issue head on, we have shut down this report. They've retracted it, and we're getting hearings, and at least one person has lost their position because of the way they violated our rights. So anybody who says that we the people cannot fix government overreaching into our privacy is wrong. We're proven in Missouri that you can fight back through the process and win if you're organized and if you defend freedom with everything you've got.
Mike Ferguson from the Missouri Libertarian Party, thanks very much for joining us. Keep up the good work, and would you please keep reporting to us on any progress in the state of Missouri in either direction, either losing freedom or gaining freedom, and certainly if you learn about any of this happening anywhere else in the United States.
My pleasure, Judge. Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. Peter Schiff joins me now, who's one of our regulars on Freedom Watch. Peter, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for being here.
Sure.
Do economists like you, well, I know you do, but do economists who support and defend and argue in favor of the free market recognize the correlation between financial freedom and civil liberties?
I hope so. I mean, if you're not financially free, what good are your liberties if the government can take all your money?
I asked Milton Friedman that question once, and he basically gave me the answer you want, and then launched into a lecture on monetarism because he didn't want to talk about civil liberties. But if the government can arrest you or stop you because of a bumper sticker on your car, and it then proceeds to how much cash is in your briefcase and then how much cash is in your wallet and where did you get the cash from, you can see the erosion from civil liberties to assault on financial liberties.
Right, but it's all property rights. I mean, that's what financial liberties are. And if you don't have property rights, what rights do you have? I mean, if the government can take all your money and take your property, what difference does it make that you have freedom of the speech? So you can complain about it, but they take all your property, or if you have you have the right to vote, or you have freedom of the press. None of those freedoms mean anything if your property isn't safe, if the government can simply take it from you.
Steve Bierfeldt joins us now live from the Fox studios in Washington, D.C. Steve, my good buddy, welcome to Freedom Watch.
How you doing, sir? Good to talk to you again.
Good. It's a pleasure to talk to you, and with me, of course, is Peter Schiff. We just had on Mike Ferguson from the Missouri Libertarian Party, whom you and I know, and who indicated to us that the government of Missouri has finally found out what the police were doing, and the program has been stopped, and some people have actually lost our jobs. Bring us up to date, if you will, to the reaction that you personally received to your courageous and patient, simple question. Sir, am I legally required to answer that question? You patiently said that over and over again, and you never got a straight answer. As a result of that, as a result of your taping, your perfectly lawful taping of this incident in a room somewhere in the St. Louis airport, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of folks have weighed in. What's the reaction you're getting and that you're hearing?
To be honest, I've gotten 100% good, positive reaction, except for one. Honestly, was a TSA officer who contacted me, and he was not pleased by what happened. But other than that, every reaction I've gotten, whether it be email or phone calls or messages, has been positive. And they've said, thank you for standing up for me. And a lot of people have said, wow, next time I'm at the airport and this happens to me, now I have the courage to do something. So that's kind of cool.
When the TSA officer emailed you and said he wasn't happy, was he unhappy with the way his colleagues behaved, or was he unhappy at your exposure of their unlawful behavior?
He was unhappy with me. He was very displeased that I was doing anything against someone who he said was helping me get through the line. He was very upset that I recorded it. He said it was misleading. He was basically just unhappy. But it's just one officer, like I said, and most of the people have been very, very happy with what I did. And more specifically, like I said, they were happy. Now they have the courage to do that, and they were very grateful for that too.
One of the things that you really did was expose to the world this clandestine confrontation that could happen to almost anyone. And now people really know what the law is. Now, the law is different in every state. In some states, you need the consent of the person whose voice you are taping in order to run, in order to make and use the tape. Missouri is a single consent state, meaning because you, as the person making the tape, obviously consented to what you were doing, it was not necessary for you to reveal to others what they were doing. So lest anyone think that they can do what Steve did in Missouri, the law is different. In Florida, for example, it's a dual consent state, meaning before you can tape someone's conversation, you must tell them that you're taping it. Do you think the police would have treated you the way they did if you said to them, by the way, guys, I just turned a tape recorder on?
No, I don't, and that's the reason why I did not mention that to them. I don't know what the outcome would have been, but just for my safety's sake at least, I was pretty happy not to let them know I was taping it. And more importantly, I wanted them to conduct themselves like they normally would. And it's important that everyone throughout the country see how these officers and these agents conducted themselves when they did not think there'd be repercussions for their actions.
When did you learn during the course of your 25 or 30 minutes with them that you were not free to leave? And I use that phrase, it's a term of art in constitutional law, not free to leave, because that's the definition of an arrest. When, as a result of government behavior, a person is not free to leave. When did you recognize that?
I wanted to ask them, and I got this on tape, and I said, after the 25th minute or so, they said, let's go to the police station. And my response was, do I have to go to the station, or am I being detained? Can I go? And they said, just come to the station with us. Again, didn't answer the question, kind of flip-flop back and forth. And finally I said, sir, am I being required to go? Am I being forced to go? And one of the police officers said, yes, you're being forced to go. You're coming with us. Call it detained. Call it whatever you want. And the other officer asked me if I needed to be handcuffed and told me he would help me understand the law if I was unwilling to understand it by myself. So at that point, you're in a room with no windows and the door's locked. You've got 4 guys with loaded guns telling you to go to the station. They've already cursed at you. They've already gotten in your face. Even if you have a recording, you say, yes, I'll go to the police station.
Well, of course, at some point, the coercion is terrifying, and even a person most respectfully like you, who knows and loves the Constitution, realizes that you're overwhelmed by force. But did they ever explain to you why they threatened to bring you to Drug Enforcement Administration agents? Because on the tape, they refer to the DEA, the DEA. I mean, other than the fact that the DEA is known for extra-constitutional behavior, if I can use a euphemism, why in the name of heaven or earth were they threatening to bring you there? I mean, they might as well have been threatening to bring you to the St. Louis Fire Department. The DEA has nothing to do with this.
I think it was scare tactics. The average person, they get taken in the side room. The police say, we're going to take you to the DEA or the FBI if you don't talk. The average person will say, okay, I'll talk. Just let me get on my flight, please. And again, I don't have a huge knowledge of the law, but I know a little bit. And I knew their threats were kind of bluffs, and I knew what I was required to say, and most importantly, I knew what I was not required to say by law.
How does this end? You and I, of course, listened to the tape, and we're hoping to be able to play the edited version, in which we edited out the dead sound just to save time on air here at Fox. But how does it end? You were restrained by 4 or 5 uniformed, badge-wearing, gun-toting, apparently lawful police officers. Did some plainclothes person enter the room and take charge and bring some common sense and sense of the Constitution to all of this?
At last, they asked me if I need to be handcuffed, and they say, yes, you're being detained, you're coming with us. So I say, okay, I'm happy to go. And they walk me out down the concourse, and we get about 10 yards out. And a plainclothes officer who was kind of ordering them around, I was under the impression was federal, called them back and said, guys, what are you doing? Bring this guy back here. And he brings me in and looks at the cash and the checks.